I'm Kaylee, and this is a list of my favorite fictional fathers. Today, my shout out goes to my dad. He is the steady rock of our family, the one that binds us all together. We know he is always there to protect and support and care for us. And more than that, it's his wisdom and his patience with us kids. Whenever I have a problem or I'm upset or something, it's my dad that I go to, and I know that I will find compassion and some wisdom. Even as an adult, I really rely on my dad. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. So today I have a list of 21 fictional fathers. This list is not in any particular order. I did kind of group them together based on whether this dad is the actual biological father of the main character, or whether it's a father figure or an uncle or an adopted father, or maybe it's the father of a side character who is fatherly towards the main character. So the first one on the list, though, is Charles Ingalls from the Little House on the Prairie series. When I was reading Little House as a little kid, I always really loved Charles Ingalls. My dad's name is also Charles, so I felt like, hey, that's my dad's name. And he's a musician, and my dad is a musician. A lot of the Little House books is about how these pioneers were just in this battle against nature. And so I really love how Mr. Ingalls just works so hard. And he's very smart and clever and resourceful to take care of his family and farm the land and all of that. Next, we have Mr. March from the Little Women series. We don't see a lot of Mr. March in the beginning. He's gone off to the war as a chaplain. And then when he comes back, we don't really see a lot of him. But the few scenes and the few bits of dialogue that we do have with Mr. March, he is that wisdom that his daughters are looking toward. When Jo has a problem, she goes to her dad for some advice. And then in the next book of that series, we see that legacy continue with Friedrich Bhaer. So he has 2 little sons of his own and 2 nephews, but he also has a whole school full of boys. So sometimes he has to discipline them and be very firm and strict. But because of that, the boys really respect him. He's very fair in his discipline. Then we have Mr. Penderwick from the Penderwick series. Mr. Penderwick is just so funny. He's a little bit scatterbrained. He's a scholar, and so he's not always paying attention to his kids. And he's always talking in Latin, so half the time you can't even understand what he was saying. But it's obvious that he really loves his daughters. Once you can actually get his attention focused, then he is full of affection and care for his children. He just has a lot on his mind. Next, we have William from Danny the Champion of the World. And he is the most splendiferous father in all of fiction. He's always coming up with interesting things to teach Danny and fun crafts and like little adventures for them to do together. But I think the thing I love most about William and what makes him so splendiferous is that he's teaching his son that life is wonderful. There are lots of wonderful, amazing things to be discovered in life. And you don't have to have lots of money in the bank and fancy cars to be able to enjoy things. He teaches Danny what is truly valuable in life, and they have fun along the way. Okay, then we have Arthur Hardcastle from the Myrtle Hardcastle mystery series. As a single parent, Arthur is kind of worried that Myrtle is not growing up as she should. He feels very heavily this responsibility, but I think he feels sort of inadequate for that task. And he has in his head this idea of what a proper young lady should be. And Myrtle just isn't that. She wants to go around and solve murder mysteries. She doesn't want to be proper. And ultimately he discovers like, well, she's your daughter. Why do you think she's not proper? Because she has your investigative mind and your analytical skills and all those things that make her a great amateur detective. Then we have Captain Ralph Crewe. This is Sarah Crewe's father in A Little Princess. We only get like 1 or 2 scenes with him right in the very beginning, but you can already tell how close father and daughter are. They have a really special rapport with one another where they can almost think each other's thoughts. And that just makes it even more heartbreaking when he is gone. Then we have Dr. Alexandre Manette from A Tale of Two Cities. Although Dr. Manette has been imprisoned in the Bastille for most of his daughters growing up, when they are reunited, they do not lose any time reconnecting. And he shows time and time again through all their adventures in the French Revolution and everything that he is willing to sacrifice anything for his daughter's happiness. Even if it means going back to jail again, he would literally do anything for his daughter. Then we have Navy Commander Ted Walker. This is from the Swallows and Amazon series. So we don't see a lot of Navy Commander Ted Walker either. We have a telegram from him in the first book of the series, and then we have a few good scenes with him and his children in one of the other books we didn't mean to go to see. But right from the beginning, I just love Commander Walker. His children write to him asking for permission to have a little sailing boat that they can sail around the lake. And he responds with a telegram that says something like, "If not duffers, won't drown. If duffers, better off drowned." Like, if you're not stupid, then you'll be fine. You know, I just love that sense of humor and the fact that he trusts his children. He knows, I have trained you well and you're not going to do anything dumb, and I know you're going to go out there and make good decisions and be safe. And the Walker children have many adventures on the lake, and they do not drown. Then we have Mr. Richard Hale. This is Margaret's father in North and South. Mr. Hale has some difficult decisions to make. He makes the decision that he cannot continue in the church the way that it currently is. He has to stay true to his conscience, and so he moves his family up north. In the beginning, this seems like a horrible mistake. However, he was making the best decisions that he could at the time. He had to follow his conscience and do what he believed to be right. And I really respect that about Mr. Hale. He's always patient and wise and kind. And that inner strength that he has, that quietness of his personality, begins to have an effect on the whole town. There are a lot of other people who begin to recognize the merits of Mr. Hale and to really respect him. That gentleness, in contrast with the hardness of their life, is what causes people to really respect and admire him. Mr. Hale is a very multi-layered character, and I love him. Then we have Dr. Gibson. This is Molly's father in Wives and Daughters. This is another father who appears to have made a mistake. Dr. Gibson is a widower, and he decides to get married again. So now Molly's new stepmother is not exactly fitting in with their family. And Molly's new stepsister begins to cause some trouble as well. However, Dr. Gibson kind of accepts that these new people are now part of the family, and he needs to protect them and care for them and be patient with them as well. He treats his new stepdaughter as if she were his own daughter. He deals with his new nagging wife with patience and kindness. He tries to compromise, trying to make his new wife happy. And I really like that he takes responsibility for the situation as it is now. We're going to take what we've got and we're just going to live with it, or we're going to try to make it better, and we are going to be a unified family. Next, we have Reverend Septimus Harding from The Warden, the first book in the Barsetshire Chronicles. Reverend Harding is another one of those quiet souls. He does his charitable work year after year, not looking for any sort of recognition. He has no ambition. He's very content just to be able to serve others. And when difficulties arise and there is conflict, which is directed at him, he doesn't really complain. He just kind of suffers silently. He doesn't even lift a finger to defend himself or to lower himself to the level of his attackers. He has this kind of inner fortitude where he's just not going to let it bother him. And I really, really love the close relationship between him and his daughter, and the way that they're always trying to outdo each other, trying to take care of each other. He's like, no, I'm going to take care of you. And she's like, no, I'm going to make sure I take care of you. It's so cute. It's absolutely adorable. I love that book. Now we get into the father figures who are either fathers of like a side character or who are an adopted uncle or something like that. So we have Captain Disko Troop in Captain's Courageous. Captain Troop is not taking any nonsense from this spoiled rich kid who has landed on his ship. He whips him into shape and gets him working and builds character for this kid. I really like that Captain Troop is strict but fair. He has to be very strong in order to be able to command all these rough fishermen, but there's also this gentle place in his heart as well. I feel like all the best men are like that, strong but gentle. Then we have Arthur Weasley from Harry Potter. I feel like Arthur doesn't get enough credit for being really very clever. We think it's cute and funny because he's obsessed with muggles and thinks muggles are so nifty and everything. And that's cute to us because we are muggles. But really, it's astonishing to me that he has not been promoted in the ministry. He's obviously very clever and resourceful. His whole job is you come into a scene and there is chaos, there is a massive problem, and you have to go in and figure out how to fix these different, magical artifacts that are messing up, and then calm down the people that are freaking out and wipe the memories of the muggles. It takes a lot of intelligence to problem solve like that. And I think we kind of see that in his family as well. He's definitely fun-loving with his children, and there's a lot of affection and care there. But I sometimes think that he does look at his family a little bit like a problem to be solved. I have to provide for all these kids. And he looks at each kid and says, okay, what do you need? And it's not just what do you need physically or how far can we stretch our money, but it's what do you need in our relationship? The twins need somebody to joke around with and to wink at their mischievousness. Ron needs someone to bolster up his confidence. And then, of course, he takes Harry into the fold, and he does the same thing for Harry. Arthur is fantastic. He's wonderful. Then we have Bilbo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings. Bilbo is Frodo's, second cousin on one side, and he's his, third uncle or great-great uncle or something on the other side. You know hobbits and their genealogies. But Bilbo adopts Frodo and becomes a fatherly figure to him. And Frodo becomes his heir. What's truly incredible is that despite the evil influence of the ring, Bilbo manages to resist that and pass on good influences to Frodo. So much so that Frodo is then able to take that strength and all those wise lessons that he gleaned from Bilbo, and then that gives him the strength to carry the ring. There are actually a lot of ancient legends of an uncle who starts a quest and fails and then passes on that torch to a nephew who then completes the quest. So when Tolkien wrote that about Bilbo, he has the ring, but then he passes it on to Frodo, who then completes the quest. Tolkien was really gleaning those ideas from ancient myths and legends. I think it really says a lot about that inner hardiness to just be able to endure and withstand outside pressures of evil, but to be able to hold on to this nugget of good within yourself. And Bilbo taught Frodo that same inner strength. Then we have Matthew Cuthbert from Anne of Green Gables. He's another one that has a quiet personality. He doesn't really talk a lot, but he lets his actions speak for him. He shows Anne how much he cares about her and how much he wants her to be there with them at Green Gables. Although he doesn't say much, his influence is felt all over Green Gables. All he has to do is give Marilla a look, and she's like, fine, she can go to the picnic. It's wonderful the way that his love and care just permeates every aspect of life at Green Gables. Then we have Nicholas Benedict from the Mysterious Benedict Society. Nicholas Benedict brings together these unusual children who are all orphans and begins to train them to stand up to this evil plot that is coming. However, you can see that although he has brought these children together to have this adventure and go on this quest against evil, he really does care about them. If there were any other way to stop the evil, he would not be using children, and not children that he really cares for. As the series progresses, then you can see more and more just how attached Mr. Benedict is to these kids. And what's incredible is that right from the beginning, they sense that they can trust him completely. They can tell that he really cares about them, and they trust his wisdom, and they begin to form this family group, all of them together. Then we have Alec Campbell. This is Rose's uncle in 8 Cousins. Alec Campbell really has his work cut out for him. When he gains guardianship of his niece, she is a spoiled little rich girl who lazes around and drinks caffeine, which is keeping her up all night. She doesn't sleep well. She just looks pale and sickly and bored. But he's really very clever in the way that he manipulates, not her, but manipulates the circumstances around her to encourage her to make better decisions for her life. I love the way that throughout the series, he's teaching her these little lessons about not being vain, or not caring so much what society thinks, or taking better care of your health, all sorts of little things, being patient with people, etc. And he always finds some roundabout way to figure out some kind of circumstance so that Rose will get to that lesson by herself. That's probably the most wise way and the most effective way to teach someone a lesson, is to lead them to it and guide them to it so that then they learn it and figure it out for themselves. And I actually use that a lot when I'm teaching. I don't just give the kid the answer. I give them the tools to figure out the answer. And that's what Alec Campbell does. Next, we have Dr. Thomas Thorne from Dr. Thorne. This is Mary's uncle. Dr. Thorne is infinitely patient and kind. I think he worries about Mary and is just not sure where is she going to find her place in society, her place in life, and people that appreciate her. He is one of those introspective people that kind of just looks at you and they can see right down into your soul, you know? And I think that from that ability of his to really analyze people comes this very deep understanding and compassion for people. I just love Dr. Thorne. That whole book is just wonderful. And then lastly, we have Adolph Kramer. This is Heidi's grandfather. I love how in the beginning of the book, you just think he's this crusty, mean old guy, you know, but Heidi just melts his heart and melts away the anger that he had toward his family before. And we see that underneath is a really vulnerable, gentle man. And he's always patient and kind with Heidi. So those are my favorite fictional fathers. Please leave a comment and let me know who are some of your favorite fictional fathers. Thanks for watching. Happy Father's Day. And remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.